Hi, my name is Charlotte Piper. My presentation is on endangered species. Now, when I think of endangered species, I tend to think of sharks. There are three different kinds of hammerheads that are on this endangered list. Um, and having this list isn't something that's new, and it there has been many species that have become extinct, such as the white rhino recently. Endangered species are very important to their ecosystem that they could live in mainly or pass through, such as like herd animals like ducks or any sort of bird that flies past it. Um, but not just their personal, ju- not just their personal ecosystem, but as well as many others that depend on that animal in different ways. Like I said, that there are many different endangered species, and all of them are very important. Every species on this planet is very important to keep on this planet because they have an importance on their main ecosystem, such as some hammerhead sharks who feed on stingrays, as well as different kinds of animals who depend on these hammerheads for leftovers or other stuff like that. Um, what I personally like to do is I like to tackle the problem as best as I can. Now, according to In Troubled Waters Applying DNA Barcoding to Monitor Singapore's shark fin trade. Now, the shark fin trade isn't something new, sadly. It's been going on for many years. Um, it directly states that Singapore is a significant contributor and a central hub in the global trade of sharks fins uh, and the large wildlife trade, with numerous examples of cities listed species sold throughout the country. The country ranks second in terms of shark fin imports and exports by value trading, only behind Hong Kong. Now, this is very important to their it's a cultural dish, but it is something that sadly keeps these animals alive after these their fins are cut, which sadly ends up in them passing away because they're unable to move and they're unable to eat and they are bleeding out. Um, and that sucks, but that's just one kind of animal in a way that is affected by us humans. Now, another way that these species are affected is by global warming, um, and it has had a drastic, drastic effect on these animals, um, especially the distribution of these species, such like I said earlier about kind of birds and so on. And a study has shown that these species distributions have started to go closer towards the poles, and that directly affects their environment that they leave behind, as well as changes the new ones that they go into. Now, I like to find kind of the source of this problem when I try and find it, which happens to go over to the causes. Um, Another shark site called Global Shark Fins in Local Contexts. Multi multi multiscalar dynamics between Hong Kong marketing and mid-Atlantic fisheries. Now, this is not a diss on people who live in Hong Kong and people who have these traditional dishes in any way. Um, but sadly, there's an over um, work of these animals for one certain part of, or a few certain parts of their anatomy, which are their fins. Now, it directly states much of the global shark fin discourse revolves around shark finning, i.e., the practice of removing fins at sea and discarding the bodies. Shark fins are among the most economically valuable of seafood commodities within a market value of approximately in US dollars 400 to 550 million dollars a year. Now that's a very big number. It has definitely helped out the companies that export, import these animals as well as getting maintaining the abundance of these um, delicacies. But an overfishing can have a detrimental impact on these animals as well as their um, ecosystems because they are getting dumped as well as um, dying, sadly, because of the over fishing of these animals. Um, Now, a biodiverse area is heavily influenced on antibi- AI, bi- AI biotic and biotic factors that can be the difference in the distribution areas, such as like saline in the ocean waters with sharks that like can have the possibility of disrupting these animals' homes just by um, a certain amount, which is not a good thing, along with temperatures and other sort of conditions that change throughout the course of time. Now, let's hopefully end this on a happier note with the solutions of some of these problems, such as like global warming and the fisheries as well. Now, according to the Geobotanical Study and Preservation of Rare and Endangered Rose species, this site focuses more on a plant species specifically. Um, but it says, and I quote, cryopressor, cryopreservation, the storage of biological material is in nitrogen, um, in liquid nitrogen, is safe and cost effective. Um, s- um, s- is and cost effective strategy for the long term storage of plant genetic resources, and complements traditional ex situ conservation methods alongside and site collection, provide a robust framework for the enduring protection of our botanical history. This is just allowing us to sort of preserve some of these plants in liquid nitrogen to not only kind of save them for like future once we're able to have kind of that environment that we can plant more, but also can provide a place to um, study them as well, which I think is really cool. Um, and when it comes to fisheries or the trade of shark fins, there are sustainable fisheries that are possible. And it has been achieved for a few species um, in a couple of countries. The US, in fact, has um, 12 out of the 16 sustainable and well managed shark fisheries in the world, which I think is pretty cool as the United States to lead in. Now, in conclusion, um, endangered species isn't something new. It has uh, endangered species as a whole has always existed throughout our world. And it can have detrimental effects on biodiversity as well as their ecosystems, and that could lead to affecting us. But when I think of endangered species, I kind of think of a shark or hammerhead specifically, and I think that that should change. Thank you.